Hey, I was just thinking a little bit about something and wanted to share it with you guys. And it's this. I don't know if you've been around people who have had this mindset or not, but it's like, it's the whole, I think I'm a really good person, and that there are people who aren't as good as me in the world mindset. And I hope to discourage you from that mindset in this video, because I think it's a dangerous mindset, because it's very self-righteous, very hypocritical, lacks compassion, and just lacks an understanding of the way different sins affect different people. Everybody struggles with sin. The Bible says that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So we're all equally under sin. But there's actually like two different kinds of sins that I've been noticing. The first one is like total, more of like a depraved type, paganism type attitude, to where you're not religious, and so what I mean by that is you're not involved with any like main religion that demands good deeds from you or demands moral standards from you. And so you basically just do what you feel is right. You do what you have grown up understanding to be right, what you have been taught from your parents, and just kind of learn from experience. And the second kind of sin is the kind that's religious. It's the kind that is involved with a religion that makes moral demands of you, that has a standard that you're supposed to meet in order to be a good person. And that you can be judgmental from either view. And the reason is because deep in the heart, we tend to think that we have a level of goodness. Well, I don't know where your level of goodness that you perceive yourself to have is, but perhaps you're probably at least close to the top of what you think is good in your own eyes. When you think about yourself and your own morality, I think it's very common for most people to think that they're relatively good. Sure, they may admit that maybe Jesus or some other highly virtuous person may be a little better than they are, but for the most part, you probably believe that you're relatively good, whether you're religious or whether you're more of like a pagan, meaning irreligious, and just kind of doing your own thing. My concern comes from this. When you think that you have achieved a certain level of goodness, when you have, in your own eyes, measured up to this certain standard, what tends to happen, and I think whatever automatically results, is that you think that whoever doesn't measure up to that standard is not as good as you. In fact, you have this kind of probably an area of morality in which you're willing to accept somebody. Like, if they're reasonably kind to you, if they're relatively tolerant of your views, if they kind of say nice things about you, and as long as they, don't steal from you or lie to you really bad, or, tell you that you're doing something wrong, and they're in that level of just bracket of morality, they're acceptable to you. But if they fall below that bracket, they're unacceptable completely. And I've experienced this time and time and again. Either it's somebody that's kind of sunk to this level where they're a thief or a drug addict, or they have something that's taken hold of their life, and they're just under that level of morality that you think a person should have. When I talk to people who have that mindset, they tend to view those people with disdain, like, you should never be like that, and there's no excuse for being like that, and you're just a horrible, wretched person, and you should be told that all the time. The other way that a person can drop below that area of moral acceptability in your eyes is if they come to you and point out something that you're doing wrong. If they have, and it doesn't matter if it really is or not. They come to you and they suggest that, well, you're really not as good as you think you are. They've just dropped below that level of morality because in your eyes, that is probably not ever a good thing to say to somebody. And so now you view them as some kind of self-righteous, hypocritical, judgmental person, probably on par with a liar or a thief or, you know, a druggie or whatever. You're dropped below the acceptable morality standard is. So I think the truth is that none of us are up to the standard, and that your standard of where you think you are is not really where you think you are. You're actually below the acceptable morality standard. In reality, I think every one of us has sins and has been taken captive by those sins, and some are really visceral and really obvious and really more harmful to other people, and some are more coated with a religion and a just an attitude of a kindness. What I mean is those types of people who initially come across as very nice people. They'll say kind things to you. They may even help you or whatever, but you soon find out that there's a line that they have, and if you cross it, they're no longer your friend. That's the second type of sin, and they're both equally bad. Okay? The person who just is no good in your eyes and who would just do the most horrible thing is just as bad as the person who has a thin veneer of virtue and piosity that they try to mask and hide their true evil heart. The Bible says all have sinned. That puts us all on the same level, below the acceptable morality standard. Okay? So, now, think of this for a second. Who in your life do you view as immoral? Think of the person in your life that is the worst person you know. You don't talk to them. They've been shunned. You believe that they should be imprisoned or arrested or maybe even deserve to die in your eyes. Think of that person. Now, I want you to realize that that's how God sees you. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how God sees you. God sees you as under the acceptable morality area. No matter how good you think you are, no matter how bad you think someone else is in comparison to you. Because honestly, you trying to compare yourself to another person is like me and another person who's an inch taller than me arguing over who's closer to the sun. Because the distance is so great that your little bit of morality over that other person doesn't make that much of a difference, even if it is. And I would suggest to you that it's actually maybe even worse to be religiously sinful rather than depraved sinfulness in terms of just being irreligious. And it just really saddens me to see people who say, this person did this, they're a horrible, despicable person, they deserve this and this and this and this. And I just want to stand back and say, whoa, who are you to say that? Just want you to think about that a little bit.